Our client is Lights Camera Action Entertainment, LCA. It is a major movie production house. After a disappointing summer filled with numerous box office flops, the CEO of LCA has approached us to decide which movie the company should release next. That's the question of the day.
Got you. Thank you so much for the introduction. Let me just quickly recap the key information you have given me. So our client is LCA. It's a movie production house, and they have faced some unsuccessful releases over the summer, and they are hoping to turn this around by deciding on which movie to release the next. Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. Which movie to release? Okay. Follow up on that. I just have a few follow-up questions to learn more about our client and also the problem they are facing. So when you say which movie, does that mean that we actually have some choices?
Yeah, so they have a few results.
Okay, so they have some a few movies.
They have a few choices, and we'll just have to pick one. I'll show you them later.
Oh, okay, sure. And then so I'm guessing that since they have faced some box office failure, which is just basically the revenue failure, their main goal in choosing which movie to release is to turn around the revenue growth.
So they are expecting a hit. A hit movie for this company is defined as a return on investment that is bigger than 50%.
Got you. Return on investment, which is bigger than 50%. Okay, that's an ambitious goal. Yeah, okay. So besides this, do they have any other side goals?
No, that's mostly it.
Okay. And then I was also hoping to learn more about like the cost structures of each movie.
I don't think we have to consider that now. So can you just go ahead and sort of think about a few, like how you're going to approach this, what are the things you're going to consider, kind of things when you are deciding which movie to release?
Okay, got you. Just one more thing. So are they in the process of producing the movie, or the movie is already done? We are just in the process of choosing which one.
That is not very relevant for now. So we don't have to consider that.
We don't have to consider the production.
So you don't have to consider the production time or anything. We're more interested in the like financial side of things.
Okay, got you. No, I was just asking if we are producing right now, or we have already done the production and we are just in the process of choosing which one.
Yeah, so like that doesn't actually matter for them, like for this question.
The latter?
No, it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. It seems matter to me because if we haven't done a production, we have to consider the cost structure as well, right? But if we have already done everything, we are just choosing from one of them. It seems like there's less factors to consider.
Okay, so the data we have is sort of we know a few movies of their choice, and we know how much these movies are going to cost, and we sort of have some like the expected like theater and like people who are going to watch those kind of things. So we have some other data to help us to do like sort of an estimation of like financially which movie makes the best sense. But exactly how is the cost going to be spread about, how is the production going to go, that's like out of the scope now.
Got you. Okay, thank you. Right, I'm just gonna, okay, can I have about 1 minute to write down my thoughts?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. I'm ready to talk about my thoughts. So in deciding which movie to release the next and become our hit movie, our main goal is definitely the financial goal, to have a return on investment which is larger than 50%. That means we actually need to have a very large return on the box office and hopefully minimize the cost structure incurred in the future in releasing this movie. And then there are a few things, and then besides the financial goal, there are also other considerations we have to, involve in our evaluation as well. Other non-financial goals, such as reputation, our reputation, how is the movie going to affect our reputation in the future? Does it go along with our original positioning? And is this movie going to, attract future talent into our production house? And then back to our main goal, which is the financial evaluation. We definitely have to consider the revenue, which is the box office, and the cost structure. So starting with the revenue, the box office, I think the most important thing to maximize our revenue box office is to consider about 3 things. So the first one would be our audience positioning. So who are our audience usually? And who for example, like Marvel Studios audience are young people who are like tech savvy, very obsessed with the superhero style movie. So if we are that kind of position, is this movie gonna go along with this to maximize, more audience turnover? And then we also need to consider the trend. If the market trend is actually, because I know a lot of movie styles and genres are no longer in the trend, such as like Western or other melodrama. Those are not, usually popular anymore. So we might need to consider and avoid that kind of general movie in choosing the list of movies we have. And and then the last thing would be the distribution channel. So since that we are actually a movie production house, I'm guessing that we need to release our movie to different theaters on the market. And I think in choosing the distribution channel, it's also very important to see how they are going to, price this service. Usually it's by commission fee, so we want to minimize that. And also we need to consider their popularity. If this theater is like, is located in a really good spot, gonna attract a lot of audience as well. So that's the revenue part. And then the cost structure, you have just said that we actually have the information already. So I guess I don't need to go into details anymore. We can probably just jump into the data and you evaluate their potential cost structure. Does that sound good to you?
Okay, very good. What do you think? So, but like before we look at the cost data, what do you think are the main cost components of a movie production?
Well, yeah. So I would actually love to evaluate the cost into different steps. So I know there are basically 3 main steps, which is the production and the marketing and the post distribution cost. So the production cost is a huge component. It involves, the cost to hire like casting people, the entire crew and the setup and everything. And after the production, we also need to consider the marketing advertisement, to advertise our new movie, usually by trailer production or hire like an external agency to help us do this. And lastly, it would be the distribution cost, because we are going to distribute our movie to different theaters and they are going to charge us commission fees. So yeah, there are just a few components we need to consider.
Okay, very good. So now I will show you some exhibits, and our first question is, which of the genre is the most profitable option for the production house? Let me just send you.
Okay, so the question is, which genre is the most
which genre
profitable?
Let me just send you the exhibits.
Oh, I didn't know you can do this in Zoom. LCA movie options. So I'm seeing that we have 4 movie options coming from different genres, different cost, production cost, and forecasted theater attendance. Okay, so this chart is already a lot of information. I can see, you know, I can basically do a for forecasted box office and forecasted revenue, forecasted profit, because I have the information on cost and the future, the forecasted attendance rate. So I think I just need one more information on the pricing scheme.
Yes, so I will send you that. Very good.
Let me look at exhibit 2 first. Okay, global movie industry statistics, anticipated theater demand by genre. Yeah, so this actually go along with the point I just made about, you know, the market trend.
Yeah.
Domestic and international average theater run of 30 days. Okay, so it seems like, you know, both in international wise or domestic wise, action movies are the most popular right now. Yeah, and then followed by that would be the comedy genre and animated genre, and lastly the drama genre.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, no longer in the hit. Okay, let me open exhibit 3. Yeah, exhibit 3 would be the revenue per ticket, which is sort of like the pricing scheme. So combining this information, number of shows per day, number of seats per show. So with this information, I can actually go ahead and just calculate the forecasted profit for each genre. Does that sound good to you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, let's start with the most popular actually, which is, okay, okay, I think I would just go by the usual order. Okay, let me start with the comedy genre. The cost is 50 million. Forecasted attendance is 80%. So 80% is the attendance rate. Meanwhile, I have number of seats per show and number of shows per day, and the ticket price. So to calculate the forecasted revenue, I just need to type, you know, I just need to use number of seats per show times number of shows per day, times the attendance rate, and times the revenue per ticket. Does that sound good to you?
Very good.
Right. So okay. So the first one would be, and also including the, you know, international and domestic different types.
How about the different like number of theaters, the different theater demand?
Different theater demand. Right. Okay. So I actually need to do kind of 2 box office forecast, depending on their theater type, whether they're international or domestic. Okay, I will do the international one first. So it will be $1 per ticket times the number of shows per day times the 400 seats per show, times the attendance rate, which is 80%, and then times the international demand. In total, it's about 1,000 in comedy. Okay. So times everything together, it would be 5 times 400 is 2,000. 2,000 times 1,000 would just be 2 million. And then times 80%, it would just give me 1.6 million.
Yes, and how long is that for?
This is for 30 days, right? Because the average theater run of 30 days.
Yeah, but you were using number of shows per day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, thank you for reminding me that. I will time 30 then. Okay, so it would just be 1.6 million times 30, which just gives me 48 million dollars.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, that's the international one. And by the same logic, then just quickly calculate the domestic revenue, which is 1.5 revenues per ticket times 10 shows per day times 200 shows times 60% attendance rate, and then times 1,500 theater demand of 30 days, and times 30. Okay, this seems like this is $81 million.
For the comedy domestic?
Yes.
How did you reach that number?
Yeah, I just used the same logic when I was calculating the international revenue.
Okay.
It's just priced, which is 1.5 times 10 shows per day and 200 and times 200 seats per show times 60% attendance rate, and then times 1,500 demand in a month, and times 30 days of a month.
Okay, so let's round that number. That's 15 times 200. So let's just round them intermediate numbers to me, please.
Sorry, you said 1,500 times 30?
No, just round the intermediate numbers to me. You just give me the formula, right? So let's just run through the calculation.
Oh yeah, I already did the calculation. It's about $81 million.
Yeah, that's different from the number I have.
Okay, let me just quickly check if I got anything wrong. So 1.5
you
times
take
10.
60%?
I did.
Why?
Sorry?
Why?
No, 60% is the attendance rate, right?
Is that 60? Are you talking about Project Huntington?
Sorry?
Are you talking about Project Huntington? The movie?
Oh yeah, sorry, I got this number wrong. Oh yeah, the forecasted attendance rate is just 80%.
Yes.
Okay. So it's supposed to be, more than that. Okay, so I just need to use this original number, 81 million, times 8/6. Okay, it's actually supposed to be $108 million
Yes, very good.
in total. Yeah. Well, it seems to be a lot of calculation. All right, so adding them up together, the total revenue coming from both domestic and international would be $108 million plus $48 million, and that would just give me $56 million in total. And because the cost is gonna be $50 million, the profit left would be $106 million.
Yes, very good.
Right. Okay. Using the same logic, let's calculate the remaining generals. Okay. Because it's a lot of calculation, and I think that I would love to save time by just quickly estimate if some of them are not worth calculating because they seem to be extremely small.
That'll be good.
Yeah, such as the drama and animated, because the demand is just a lot less, and their attendance rate is also the cost, and the cost is also higher than the other two, which is comedy and action. Yeah. So the attendance rate, so drama is definitely not worth the calculation anymore, because it has a really low theater attendance rate. It has a really high the highest cost, and also the lowest demand. So it would not be and then okay, so I think action is worth calculating, because I can't really tell without calculating if this is better than comedy, since they're quite comparable.
So that calculation.
Okay. So okay, let's do the revenue. For international first, the attendance rate is 75%, and the international tickets are the same. $1 per ticket times 5 shows per day times 400 seats per show, and the international demand is 1,500. So times 30. So in total, it would be 75% times 1 times 400 times 5 times 1, 1,500 times 30. Okay, so this is 75% times 400 times 5 times 1,500 is 3 million. And then times 30 would be 90 million. So it would just be 75% of 90 million, which gives me $67.5 million.
Yes, very good.
Okay, and then jumping to domestic, the domestic demand is 2,000 times 30 days, and times the attendance rate, which is still the same, 75% times $1.5 times 10 shows per day times 200. And quickly calculate the final number. This gives me $135 million.
Yes.
Okay, so adding them up together, it would just be 135 plus 67.5, which gives me 202.5.
Yes, very good.
$million in total. And the production cost is $75 million. Subtract 75 from 202.5, which roughly gives me 127.5.
That's very good.
Yeah, the profit. So the remaining two seems to be much less than the comedy and action genre. So I think I just need to compare these two. And by comparing the profit, which is $106 million for comedy and $127.5 million for action, it seems like action is the most popular and the most profitable option for us. So I would, go ahead and suggest them to choose action genre, depending on the financial result.
Okay, so our next question is, other than the profitability analysis, what are the other strategic decisions that LCA should consider for the success of the next movie?
For sure. Yeah, so I think I have mentioned in the first step, we also need to consider a lot of the non-financial factors in deciding which movie to release, including the reputation and the positioning of the production studio. So going with the question, I think we need to consider if the action movie we are gonna release called Case Wars are going to be popular among the audience, and I think we need to do some market research and to do some primary market research and to figure out if our audience is going to like the movie and if the assumptions are actually true, because we are actually using the forecasted numbers, which are not the real numbers. This attendance rate might vary if the movie is actually released. So I think some extra market research is gonna be needed. And then other factors also include our positioning of the as a movie production studio, because if we haven't done anything like that before, if we haven't produced one single action movie in our history, it might not be very wise to do that, because it doesn't go along well with our positioning, and people may have a lot of doubt and be skeptical about whether this movie is going to be good. Yeah, and so for other considerations, do you have any other do you have any other concerns in terms of the production itself, or just the post-production?
I don't think the client is concerned about that. So we have almost come to the end of the case. Now we have come to the client. Can you give us your recommendation?
For sure. Can I just have 30 seconds to write down my thoughts?
Yes, please.
All right. So we have been tasked to choose a movie from the 4 options you have, and in the hope to turn around your box office hit. And after careful analysis, we have decided to choose the action genre, the movie named Case Wars, because of 2 reasons. So financially, it's the best option because it can generate the most profit in return, since this is our main concern, to turn around the box office hit. And then the second reason would be that it also goes along well with the market trend right now, because from our primary research, it seems like people like the action genre the most right now, and we have the highest forecasted theater demand for action movies. And there are some risks involved as well, because we are now taking a lot of assumptions. So we are hoping to do in the next step to help you figure out more with market research and sanity checks, to conduct a lot more primary research and see if the numbers see if our number is actually accurate. Yes, thank you.
Very good. Firstly, this case is not difficult logically, but it's difficult because it's very numerical, and it clearly caught your guard. In terms of the clarifying, so let's just go in sequence. In terms of clarifying questions, I think you were very good there, but you don't have to ask about the cost structure in clarifying question. Like, it's too detailed. It's not for clarifying question. You can ask about it, like you can ask more about it after you presented your framework, or like when you are presenting your framework, you can say like, so I think cost structure is important, and if we have the data, we can probably look more into it. Those kind. But like you were talking, like you're very firm on like we should probably know if the movie is already made, and like you were really making your point. I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, your structure was all right, but like when you were talking about the non-financial side of things, it didn't feel as focused on the present movie. Like you were thinking more about like a long term, does this bring us new talent, instead of like, but the main goal here is to turn around the box office, is to bring up the return on investment. So like maybe it was worth considering some of the other like external risk factors that could affect it, or like you could bring in COVID, those kind of things. Then let's move on. The question, when I send you a lot of exhibits, I think it's a good practice to like open all of them just take a brief look. So you sort of have an idea of what is on each of them, because you could be like curious about a key piece of information that's on the next one. So like when you have multiple, I think it's good to like just take a brief look before you dive down into any of them in detail. And then the calculation, what you did very good was after the first one, you were like, this is too much. And you were selecting which ones to do, and you got the right one. So that is good. But it would be better if you have done that in like fast. If you have done that fast, like that shows like you have the sense of like sense checking, sort of taking shortcuts as you can. I think you have lost your energy at the end of the calculation. Like you were like, so I think this is a number, when you should be like looking up and say like, okay, so I have a number, blah, blah, blah. It's important to keep that in mind. The client's goal is to have a high return on investment, and that's different from profit. So you chose a movie that has the highest profit, but actually the other movie have a higher return on investment.
Oh.
If you want to fit the client's goal, you would have to choose the other one.
Yeah, I thought about that, and then I was like, but
you
I'm already
you actually had to calculate, make more calculations. Yeah, that's it for the brainstorming part. So some of the things that the casebook gives include things like release timing. So release a Christmas movie around Christmas season, release a comedy, like a rom-com around Valentine's. Think about like merchandise you can make with it, like other like fringe profits with the movie. And then think about the marketing. So sort of like how can the casting make it like help to bring up the box office revenue?
Okay.
Yeah, those kind of things. But your points on like the sort of what do people actually like what's a trend in the market, that's very good. Yes, so that's all I have.